All right, we are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Seattle. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I had some technical issues with the camera. Even now, it's kind of bothering me because it's not how it always is, and I'm going to have to deal with that later. I don't like the angle, and it's a little bit too high. I have to lower it, but we'll figure it out a little bit at a different time. Might even be upgrading the camera, and I do think I might be also changing the time of the show. I kind of want to move it back an hour to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock Eastern time. It's just a little bit too late. I finish at like 10:30, and then I got to go to bed. So I think I'm going to move it back a bit. I'll update you guys, obviously, on Twitter and on YouTube and on Discord if you're in the Discord, if I do end up changing the time of the show. But for now, here we are, and we're going to be talking about UFC Seattle. So I'll do a quick recap of, I believe it was last week. I don't think we had a break. And then we'll jump right into the card. We've got 12 fights. It was 11 until like an hour and a half or 2 hours ago, where they added a new one that I'm excited to talk about. Really out of nowhere, but I'll take it. It's honestly a good, fun fight. But all right, let me pull up the results from last week. Let me invite our friendly Discord. All right. Okay, so last week, Cannonier versus Rodriguez. So I had Calvin Kattar plus 400 on the money line, half unit. That lost. Kind of expected it to lose, but thought it was worth a shot. Maybe he would get the upset, and he had a good third round, but Zalal is the goods, and he did enough to win. Angela Hill minus 120, cashed that for 1 unit. Did she deserve it? I don't know. Classic Hill fight, split decision. I'll take it. Vincent Morales plus 190, 1 unit, and I had the round 3 submission as well at plus 3,100. And he like started choking him with like 5 seconds left in the fight. I mean, that bet looked like it was going to hit multiple times and sucked. It sucked, but Elijah Smith, I knew that he has a high ceiling. He's very athletic, and he was able to pull it off. And Vincent Morales, ultimately not a guy I've ever backed before. That was the first time and probably the last. But I think it was a good bet, and it's one that I would make again. Good job to Smith for defending the submissions. Then I had Delgado money line parlayed with the Bonfim Sadyukov over 2.5. That lost because of language barrier, I guess. That was a really weird stoppage, but it happens. Then I had the Estevam Aguilar over 2.5. That cashed. I had the Morales sub round 3. I told you guys that lost. Cashed Edmond round 1 knockout for to win just over a unit at 1.25, I think, 1.26. And then I lost a quarter unit on the round 2 knockout. And then I had Vieira round 3 decision. Did he deserve the win? I thought he did. Regardless, bad performance, bad bet. It was plus 150 round 3 decision. Not a terrible bet, but better than the money line. But still, didn't go too well. Walker round 3 decision. That sucked because he just gets another damn heel hook. And I got to sit around over here while everybody's running around with their plus 50,000 or whatever it was on Walker by heel hook. I can't even bet that. I can't even bet that here in New York. It is what it is. And then I cashed on Bonfim sub or decision, minus 135, 1.35 units to win 1. So I finished the night down 0.74. I'll take it. I try to keep my losses small when I do lose. And so far, I've been keeping my wins small too, unfortunately. But hoping to turn that around this week. Already have a bunch of bets. Already have a bunch of spots that I'm looking into. And it's almost pure underdogs. Surprise, surprise. All right, let's jump into the card, though. Real quick, Mushroom, thank you for tuning in, my brother. What's up, brother? Daz saying Mushroom is legendary indeed, and thanks for tuning in, Daz. Glenbot in the chat. What's up, Glenbot? And he's saying the camera looks good. That's good. I know it looks good, but there's just something wrong about the angle. Something wrong about the angle, Glenbot. But anyways, let's jump right into it. Make sure you guys, if you guys are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe. I will be watching the likes throughout the stream. Let's get those numbers up. Recently, it's been good. We've been doing good. Let's keep it up. Please like it if you like my stuff. Helps a lot with the algo. And if you're on Twitter, for heaven's sakes, like, retweet, comment. No one ever does on Twitter. It's super annoying, but it would be really helpful if you did. Okay, First fight of the night, we got Modestas Bukauskas versus Raffael Cerqueira. Now, Modestas, he's going to be 16-6-0, 31 years old. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. On the other side, Cerqueira, 11-1-0, 34 years old. He's 3 years older. He's going to be the same height, but he's going to be at a 2-inch reach disadvantage. So for me here, I see everybody's running to the window to bet Cerqueira plus 300, plus 260, 245, whatever it is. And I can understand. Like, Modestas is just not the best. When he came into the UFC, I was like, this guy might be the next Jones. I thought he had all the skills. And I still think he has all the skills, but he doesn't have the other things you need, like the drive, the killer instinct, the dog in you. He doesn't really have that. And his last performance against Pacquiao, I know he won, and he did cash me the round 3 ticket. That was nice. Helped out my night that day. But it wasn't a good performance. I don't rate Pacquiao at all. I don't think he's a good fighter, unfortunately. And that just was not a good performance for me. But it's like, I get it. The number's nice on Cerqueira. Like, plus 300 is great. Plus 245, it looks nice. But I don't have a basis to think he's going to win. Outside of like saying, oh, yeah, Modestas should never be minus 200. Okay, sure. But, I mean, there's situations where he should be minus 200, obviously. Go give him CM Punk, he'll be minus 3,000. Are you going to say Modestas should never be minus 3,000? Now, I'm not saying Cerqueira is on the level of Punk, but we just don't know. We don't have any way to know. His tape it's there. You can find it. There's not a lot of it, and you can't really take much from it. And the level of competition is terrible. And he's not one of those guys where you can just look at him and be like, yeah, he's the goods, or he's not the goods. You just can't tell. Seems like he can strike decently well. Seems like he's got some power. He does have some solid grappling, not really always wrestling or pushing the wrestling, but he can do it. He can get subs. I think he has subs on his record. He trains with Almeida. Like, I get it, but I don't think there's enough information to bet one way or the other. Because, all right, let's take the Ibo Aslan fight, right, with Cerqueira. What can we take that from that? Nothing. I don't put that against him, because it was like, yeah, he kind of just turtled up. I guess I kind of do put it against him a little bit, because I think what happened, because it was a really weird situation. Some people say fixed fight. Could have been a fixed fight. I don't think so, though. What I think happened is, because I was watching it, he didn't look really rocked to me. It didn't look to me like he was like actually out or even close to out. He was there. He just didn't know what to do. Once Ibo Aslan had him just back against the fence and was letting it rip, and he turtled up, he just didn't know what to do after that. So it's like, I think that's why he lost, but that's kind of a bad thing. Like, if you just don't know what to do, if someone's just unloading on you and all you can do is turtle up and you have no response, that's probably a bad look. And like, yeah, he trains with Jonathan Almeida. Maybe his grappling's good, but Jonathan can't strike. So that doesn't help his case in terms of the striking. And I just don't know anything about him. And I wanted to pull up Tristan over here. Tristan, what's up, Tristan? Saying Modestas minus 290 in a UFC fight. Really? Again, if he was fighting CM Punk, should he be minus 290? If he was fighting, like, I don't know. My point is, there's situations where that's appropriate, and I don't have any way to know if that's appropriate or not here, because there's just not enough info. I think overall, Modestas is good pretty much everywhere. He's spectacular nowhere. He can strike. He's got solid range distance management. He's got good defense overall. Stays relatively safe. He's got solid grappling, solid defensive grappling. He's not amazing at anything, but he's pretty good at everything. He's a well-rounded fighter. He does not separate, so I understand why you wouldn't want to bet him at chalk. And I'm not advocating for him to bet him at chalk. I'm certainly not. I'm just saying, just because he's a big favorite and Cerqueira's this plus 300 dog doesn't mean you got to click. And that's coming from me. I'm about to pitch Nick Klein in a second. So I'm just saying, I don't know if this is like something you should be running to throw money on. And if you do, like, I can understand it, but I wouldn't go like multi-unit play. I wouldn't even do a full unit. I would do a half unit Cerqueira. And you know what? Maybe he turns it around. Maybe he really is this guy who belongs, and he takes out Modestas. But there's no real reason to think that. And I can't make a bet off of like hopes and dreams. I did that the first time Cerqueira fought against Ibo Aslan. I was like, you know what? Ibo can't really grapple. Cerqueira trains with Almeida. He's 11-0. Why would they sign him if he wasn't any good? And look how that went for me, you know? So maybe he does come and pull it off, but I just don't think you can like make this a multi-unit play and just go off on it. I think that's silly. For me personally, I have to pick Modestas to win. I don't have any reason to think that Cerqueira is a better striker than him. I don't have any reason to believe that Cerqueira is going to be able to just throw him around and just completely out-grapple him. I don't have any reason to believe Cerqueira has 15 minutes of cardio in a UFC fight against a relatively decent competition. So, yeah, for me, it's Modestas. Do I want to bet him? No. But I don't really see a way to bet. I see one way to bet it. Cerqueira's sub is plus 2,000. And if you're betting him, I'm assuming you think he might get the finish because we don't really have any real reason to think he's a minute winner. And Modestas is a decent minute winner. He doesn't separate, but he can win the minutes. So let me put this comment away. So it's like if you're betting Cerqueira, I think you probably got to do, I mean, you could just lay the half unit, like I said, on the money line, but his sub is plus 2,000, right? And my point is, if you're betting him, you're probably assuming there's some grappling upside there. Sub at plus 2,000 seems wrong then, considering that. So I might sprinkle that and just cheer for Cerqueira, cheer for the sub at plus 2,000. That would be sick. Maybe the domestics will give me even something better. But long story short, for me, there's just not enough information here to be running over there to bet Cerqueira. I think there's better dogs on the card to be more confident in. And if you're betting him, it's a fade on Modestas, and I get it, but it's not for me, I guess, is long story short. And yeah. Pauga beat Modestas. Modestas got hurt by Prachniow. He certainly is not a guy who I want to back at minus 300, but my point is simply that it doesn't mean you have to bet Cerqueira either. Because if we're going to talk about UFC performances and how terrible Modestas is and how he's underperforming, how about Cerqueira? Comes to the UFC and gets finished in 30 seconds and can't even do anything because he just shells up and doesn't know how to respond. He wasn't out. He wasn't like done. He wasn't dead. He just didn't know what to do once he shelled up and Ibo was just letting it rip. So like if we're going to harp on Modestas' bad performances, how about Cerqueira's? Then again, Modestas is minus 300. Well, that was unnecessarily long-winded, and we can move on. Let me catch up with the chat, though, because it's popping off, and I like that. Let's see. Glenn Bott saying Raffael round 2-3 finish. Cashed Modestas round 3, sub 55-1 last time. I just had round 3 Modestas last time, and that was nice. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think if you bet Cerqueira, half a unit on the money line is fine. It makes sense. I'm personally probably just going to do the sub because plus 2,000 to me seems wrong from what I know about the guy. And if I'm going to throw a long shot on him and close my eyes and hope for the best, I'd probably rather do it by sub. Modestas just exists. His volume's low. Agreed. Over 1.5. It's another one of those spots where like probably goes over, but I don't know. I don't know anything about Cerqueira. And I've watched all the tape. I know the guy as well as I can, but there's just not enough info. Chronic Combat, what's up, Chronic Combat? Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are checking the boys out over there. I'm a big fan of them, and they've actually been doing pretty well this year, I'm pretty sure. I think they've been killing it, if I'm not mistaken. Gonna skip the other Chronic Combat comment. Tristan saying it was his UFC debut, covering up and nervous, got stuff. Yeah, that's fair. Maybe. I just don't have anything else to go off of. And to me, what my read there was maybe it was some nerves, but my read was he just didn't know what to do in that situation because he's never been put in it. What would I line Ibo versus Modestas? What do I think that the line would be at, or what do I think it should be at? Should be? Pick him. Personally, Modestas is a bit more, way more well-rounded, better competition. I know he can go 3 rounds, but Ibo hits hard, tough dude. Probably would, I'd say pick him off the top of my head. Fight doesn't go the distance. Seems good here. Odds are playable. What is it? Fight ends ITD minus 230. I don't know. Modestas isn't the best finisher. My guy Dravi. Make sure you guys are checking Dravi out. He's one of the sharpest in the space. Love that dude. What's up, Mike? Everybody on this Cerqueira guy, and we don't have info. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everyone's just fading Modestas, which is fine. I 100% get it. There's guys in the UFC who I will also blind fade, but yeah, it's just not a play I want to make, I guess. John Redmond KO'd Modestas, and he went to school with Glenbot, and Glenbot's 41. Good to know. Brandon Eason, what's up, Brandon? Saying Modestas minus 300 is crazy, low key, but he should win here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't have much information, and the bookies are just working with what they have. So I understand the line. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I wouldn't know what to set it at. All right, let's move on. Next up, we've got Nursulton Ruziboev versus Eric McConico. Ruziboev, 34-9-2. He's 31 years old. He's going to be 6'5" with the 76-inch reach. McConico, 9-2-1. He's 34, so he's going to be 3 years older. He's 5 inches shorter. He's at a 1-inch reach disadvantage, and he is making his UFC debut. Now, this fight was made on short notice because they needed more fights because the entire card just fell apart all at the same time. Feel terrible for anybody who bought tickets because I heard it was expensive, but it's honestly a pretty good fight. And Eric McConico is one of my favorite bets on the card, and I'll explain why. I am not one of the people who thinks Ruziboev is a fraud necessarily. I think he's fine. He's got a huge frame for the division. He's at a good camp. He's relatively decently well-rounded. Like, he can strike. He's got a lot of power. He's very explosive. His grappling's not great, defensive grappling, but he's dangerous off his back. He's active off his back. So I don't think he's a fraud. I don't think he'll ever be champion, but I don't think he's a fraud either. I just think that, he's usually a little overhyped. And in this spot, I think the line is way too wide. Eric McConico. So when I first looked at this, I just wiki capped it real quick before taping it. And I was looking at it. I was like, 9-2-1. Record's not that pretty. He does have a win over Maki Patola, one of my all-time favorites. I used to love Maki. I thought he was going to be something back in like 2020, and that didn't go well. But it just when I first just wiki capped it, I was like, yeah, okay, probably Ruziboev wins, but I'll probably end up passing. And then I taped it, and I think Eric's pretty good. It's not like this isn't a play where I'm kind of doing what people are doing with Modestas. I'm going, Ruziboev's a bum. He's a fraud. I'm gonna fade him no matter what. No, I think he's not the greatest. I think he's fine, but I genuinely like Eric here, and I think this line is crazy. I think this line is purely made off of the fact that people just don't know McConico. The bookies, I don't think, bothered really looking into it too much. And look, the way I see it, can McConico be hurt? Yes, he's been knocked out twice. So going into this, I 100% can recognize the fact that Ruziboev's got a really nice right hand. He's got a ton of power. He's huge. He's explosive. He can hurt Eric. He can probably knock out Eric. But in the striking, like, I actually think Eric's a pretty good striker. He's going to struggle a little bit at range, but he's southpaw, so the jab won't really be there for Ruziboev. Not that he really uses it, but the jab won't be there. Southpaw stance, keeps his hands relatively high. And I think he's a pretty good striker. He's solid in the clinch. He does a lot of good work there. He's strong there. He's able to circle out when he's the one with his back against the fence, puts the hand on the neck and turns around. His grappling is pretty good too. He's a solid wrestler. He's got pretty good control. The solid ground and pound. Not the best submission grappler, but he can do it. And I just think he's actually a very solid fighter. And he's a guy that I wasn't super familiar with before taping for this fight. And when I was done, I was like, this is a play. This is 100% a play. Because on the feet, Ruziboev is more dangerous. He's more dangerous at range for sure. But as the fight goes on, he starts to lose that power. And just skill for skill, like in boxing range, I think Eric's on par with him. And I think Eric can 100% compete with him. And then on top of that, Ruziboev never had good takedown defense. I know that Buckley has really well-rounded his game. He's gotten a lot better at the wrestling. But you can go to the regionals and see this guy getting taken down by guys who are not very good. And I think that Eric is a good fighter, and he's training at MMA Lab. I'm usually high on MMA Lab for the lower weight classes because, like, bantamweight, flyweight, featherweight. But he's got a guy like Jared Cannonier over there that he's training with. Is that like an end-all, be-all? No, but it's a good look. Definitely a good look. So for me, I can see a path for Eric in the grappling. I think if Eric wins, it probably is like a decision situation. So you could do that, but I got it at plus 270. Now it's like, what, plus 225, plus 230. I think that's fine. I think that's playable. I put a unit on it. I didn't do a half unit. I did a full unit because I think he can straight up come here and just win this fight. Now, in terms of like a pick, who am I going to pick? Who am I going to fill in on Tapology? I don't know yet, actually. I don't know yet. I lean a little bit towards Ruziboev just because of size, explosiveness, power, and he's a pain in the ass to deal with even if you do take him down. So I'll probably pick him to win, but it's a major dogger pass, and I did play the dog in Eric McConico. Plus 270 for me for 1 unit, but I think that the current price plus 230 is still fine too. Like out of the 2 guys making their debut at actually no, there's 3 now. But before Vanderford got put on the card, I think that out of the 2 guys making their debut, Eric's got the better chance. Let's see what we got in the chat. Real Fight Picks was talking about the last fight. What's up, Real Fight Picks? Thanks for tuning in. Always good to see you in here. Ruzi coming in fat. How do you know? Oh, because I'm assuming because it's short notice. Eric's sub is that wild. I feel like he's probably not going to sub him. What's the line though? Plus 1,000. I mean, you know me. It doesn't take me much to get on a plus 1,000. Daz saying 1 unit on Eric seems all right. He got plus 250. Yeah, I'm with you, Daz. I'm with you 100%. I think Eric at this price is a must play. And before we continue, let's see how we're doing on. We got 6 likes. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. We got 21 people on YouTube. We got 47 on Twitter. I already know you guys on Twitter. You guys aren't liking anything. But if you're watching on YouTube, please, for the love of God, like the video. Let's do it. Come on. It's 6 likes. I deserve better than that. And we can move on. I spent 10 minutes talking about Raffael, Cerqueira, and Modestas just to not have a bet on it. And you guys gave me 6 likes. Ridiculous. Nick Klein making his debut too. I meant like the short notice guys. But yeah, that is true. All right. I'm really excited to talk about this fight. This literally got put together like an hour ago or 2 hours ago. We have Austin Vanderford making his UFC debut against Nikolay Veretennikov. Vanderford, he's 12-2-0, 34 years old, 5'11" with a 74-inch reach, and he is an American top team guy. Veretennikov, 12-5-0. He's 35. He's 1 year older. Not even. He's 3 months older. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So for me, I did have time to tape it. I taped it immediately after they dropped the announcement because I was really interested in it. I think it's a really interesting fight, a really fascinating fight. There's a whole weird thing because Veretennikov, I guess, was supposed to fight Billy Goff in a week or 2, and then he dropped out of that fight, but then took this one. And Billy Goff was supposed to fight Adam Fugit, but his camp told him not to do it on short notice. So now we have this fight, and I posted a meme about this on Twitter. It's like everybody's begging for Vadim Nemkov, Patchy Mix from the PFL Tour situation. And Dana's just like, nah, how about Austin Vanderford? Honestly, it's not bad. Austin's good. Austin's a good fighter. He's pretty one-dimensional, but he's good. Anyways, for this matchup, I lean Veretennikov in terms of a pick. When the line first got dropped, I think Austin was like a slight favorite. So I was going to play Veretennikov, but I was kind of just waiting to see, you know, let the other lines drop. Let me see what's going on. Let me get a better read on it. Let me get my tape in. By the time I taped, Veretennikov was already like minus 170. Now he's down to like minus 155. So you got Vanderford somewhere between plus 125 and plus 140. That seems about right to me. Because with Austin, you know, super hyped up guy going into the Mousasi fight. He was undefeated, really, really good wrestler. In terms of just pure wrestling, Vanderford's by far the best pure wrestler that Veretennikov's ever fought. MMA grappling, with everything else mixed in, I wouldn't say so. I would say Morales is a better MMA grappler. But in terms of just pure wrestling, Vanderford is by far, in my opinion, the best wrestler, at least on paper, that Veretennikov has fought, which makes it pretty interesting. But I already forgot my original point. I'm going off here on tangents. Anyways, let's go piece by piece, right? So short notice, first thing you think of is cardio. Vanderford has pretty good cardio. Not really something I worry about. Was he in camp or not? I have no idea, but not super worried about that. Then Veretennikov, also a guy with solid cardio, not super worried. He doesn't exactly push the pace either. And he may or may not have been in a fight camp for Goff. I need to go figure out what the hell happened there. But I'm not super worried about the cardio one way or another with short, and they're both short notice. In the striking, that was like the thing on the tape that I wanted to see because I know obviously Austin's going to be the better wrestler. I needed to go and see what his striking looks like because I just didn't remember very well. I know he got knocked out by Mousasi. I know he got knocked out by my guy Aaron Jeffrey, and he got knocked out at the exact same time in both fights back to back. 1 minute and 25 seconds apparently, which is crazy. But he is pretty chinny. He doesn't take shots very well. That's concerning. But in terms of the striking overall, I don't like his striking. In his LFA bout that he had last year, I think he hurt his opponent just off of the jab, and that's all he really has, right? Austin has the jab, and it's good. He'll jab, 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 and then the overhand, and then the takedowns. His stand up is a jab and an overhand right. That's what he does. So he's very limited on the feet. On the feet, I think Veretennikov's a much better striker. I bet Veretennikov in the Barlow fight, thinking he might grapple. He tried a little bit, but he put up a good fight just on the feet against Barlow, and Barlow's a dangerous, dangerous striker. Veretennikov does really good work to the body. That's something I've always noticed with him. He targets the body really well. He'll go to the legs nicely too. He mixes all the targets. He's very good in the clinch. That's where one of his strongest parts of his game is the clinch. He can grapple offensively. Defensively, takedown defense looks solid. Not really getting taken down often. Not many people are trying. Morales, I think he went 4-8, something like that, 4-6 or 4-8. And Veretennikov did a pretty good job at getting back up. I think it was only in round 2 that he got stuck, like really got stuck against Morales. And then he got up once, and then Morales brought him back down. But other than that, his get-ups are pretty good. Takedown defense seems relatively strong. But it does kind of feel like Austin might be able to get the takedowns here. So for me, it's kind of a binary fight. And it's like, can Austin get the wrestling going or not? Because if he does, plus 135, plus 140, whatever it is now, that might be a gift. But if he can't, Veretennikov might beat his ass. The problem with that, though, in laying chalk on Veretennikov, I'm a fan of him for no good reason. He's 12-5-0, but I like the guy a lot. Problem with him is he doesn't really separate. Unless he's knocking people out, he doesn't really separate. Now, the fights I'm talking about are against pretty high-level competition, like Barlow, like Michael Morales. But Austin's a pretty high-level guy, too. I know he's relatively one-dimensional, but he is a pretty high-level guy. So, long story short, I think Veretennikov wins just because he's the better striker. I think his takedown defense is solid, and he can do good work in the clinch. I think he's the more physical guy a little bit. But it's dog or pass because I could see Austin running away with it if he can get those takedowns. If that jab overhand right is working for him, and he can time and get those takedowns, I think he could end up looking like a big favorite. So for me, it's dog or pass. I'm going to pick Veretennikov to win, but I can't lay the chalk on him. And I'm kind of interested in Vanderford at plus 130. I think Pick'em is about accurate because I think it's relatively black and white. Like either Vanderford gets the takedowns and has a really easy time, or he doesn't, and Veretennikov wins. So pick him around that point would have made sense to me. I think that's an accurate line. Austin at a relatively decent dog odds, that might be a play. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to see. I was thinking about the over 2.5 too. It's pick 'em, or it was pick 'em. Maybe now it's like minus 125. But that's also, I feel like it's kind of correlated. I feel like if Austin wins, it's by decision. He doesn't really finish anybody. And Veretennikov, I can see him knocking out Austin. I can see him winning a decision too, but I can see him knocking out Austin, who doesn't have the strongest chin, and Veretennikov does hit really hard, and he mixes the targets really nicely. So, yeah, it's dog or pass for me, but the pick will be Veretennikov. See what the chat's got going on. Glenbot saying, share the stream. Share the stream indeed. Glenbot is right. Klein is getting... You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth, Daz. Parent taken. He's not new. That's... I mean... He's not new in terms of like we know who he is, but he's new to the UFC. That's a fact. He's never been in the UFC. 175 pounds favors Austin to wrestle heavy for sure. What do you mean? What's CW? Am I stupid? But yeah, that is another thing. He did move down from middleweight to welterweight. I think his last fight in LFA was welterweight. All right, my camera just made a noise for no reason. Champ Bets, what's up, Champ? Always a pleasure when you tune in. What's up, Couch? How I can cash? Yeah, I think Veretennikov should win, but it's dog or pass, like I said. Oh, catch weight. Okay, I see. Oh, they're doing 175. They're not doing 170. No, I didn't know that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That does probably favor him a little bit. All right. Anyways, let's move on. Next up, we got Ricky Simone versus Javid Basharat. Ricky Simone, 26-0, 32 years old, 5'6" at the 70-inch reach. Basharat, 14-1-0. He's 29, so he's 3 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches taller, but he's at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So real quick, the first thing I wanted to do Now, this is a little random, but all week long, everybody's talking about so far. They're talking about Javid's the worst brother out of the two brothers because there's almost always an A side, B side with the siblings. And from what I remember, everyone always thought Javid was the A side. And then Farid came along a little bit later, and now Javid lost to what's his name? Zahabi. And now he's the worst brother and all that. So I just wanted to pull up Farid's record and kind of look at it and be like, is he really that much better than his brother? Because I just remember him having bad competition, but then I pulled up the record. Damon Blackshear, Taylor Lapalus, those are some pretty damn good wins. So okay, I'll say Farid probably is the better brother. Now, in terms of this actual fight, moving on from the tangent, it's pretty straightforward to me. I mean, it's just, should Ricky Simone be plus 200 or higher here? No, it's that simple for me. So I put a half unit on Ricky Simone. In terms of who do I think wins, Basharat, slight lean, because he is a cleaner striker. He does a very good job with range management, and he's a good grappler in his own right. But I think people are just being way too low on Ricky. I'm seeing people say Ricky's washed, and you know what? Maybe he is, but how do you know? Because he lost to Vinicius Oliveira, Mario Batista, and Song Yadong. That's why he's washed. I don't think that necessarily means he's washed. I think all three of those people beat Javid. I think that Oliveira beats Javid. I think that Batista beats Javid. I think that Song Yadong beats Javid. I think all of them do. So if that's the reason we're saying Ricky's washed, I can't subscribe to that. I can't agree with that. And then just looking at the matchup, you know, who hits harder, Ricky? Who's the cleaner striker, Javid? Who's the better pure wrestler, Ricky? Who's got better jiu-jitsu, Javid? Who's a better minute winner? They're both pretty good minute winners. You know, it just depends on the situation. On the feet, I think Javid's going to be cleaner. He's going to do a good job keeping that range. He's very solid defensively. And he mixes it up a little bit better with Ricky, more kicks, more of that kind of stuff. But Ricky's a good boxer. Ricky hits harder, and Ricky does a good job at kind of crashing into the pocket. And I could see him closing the distance, getting in close into boxing range. And I think he can have a ton of success there. And then on top of that, can Javid get takedowns here? He might, but I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I think it's going to be easier for Ricky to take down Javid than it will be for Javid to take down Ricky. Now, can Ricky hold him down? I don't know about that. Javid's really good at getting back up. He's got really good jiu-jitsu, really good scrambling. So I think that what it's going to kind of look like is Ricky's going to be backing him up. Javid's going to keep trying to keep the range, using the kicks, using the jab. Ricky's going to crash the pocket, land some big shots, shoot for a double, take him down. Javid's going to scramble back up. And I think they're just going to keep doing that for 15 minutes. And I think it's going to end up being a really close fight where Javid's cleaner. Ricky's a little bit more of a dog, has the bigger moments, lands a few takedowns, a little bit more control than Javid does. So for me, Ricky was a no-brainer. I think I played him at plus, what did I play him at? Plus 240. I put a half unit because I kind of think that Javid wins. I just think the line's pretty damn wrong. So I just did a half unit. I don't blame anyone for going harder because Ricky, at the end of the day, is higher level than most people that Javid has fought. Zahabi's like the best guy that Javid's fought. And Zahabi, I've always been really low on him. I've had to turn that around because clearly the guy is good. But Ricky, in my opinion, Ricky's a tougher out. He's just got more ways to win. And I know he's been on hard times, but he was a huge favorite over Batista. And I cashed Batista there. That felt good. Pretty sure he was a favorite over Song Yadong, or it was very close. And then he was the favorite again over Vinicius Oliveira. But now he's a big underdog against Basharat. So I think there's a lot of recency bias going on. I think there's a lot of just people being like, oh, yeah, Ricky's done. And I don't think he's done. I think he's going to put up a good fight. I think this is going to be a really fun, good, competitive fight. And I think that plus 240, something around that range on Ricky, that's a must play for at least a half unit. And that's what I did. And we can move on. Let me catch up with the chat. Let me see how we're doing on likes. Let's see how we're doing on likes. Let me refresh. 19. That's better. Not quite where we need to be, considering we got a total of 116 people watching right now. Should be a little bit better, but still appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. And let's see what we got going on in the chat, because the chat's popping today. All right. 6 Hounds saying Javid versus Simone and split plus 500. Don't hate it. I never bet those kinds of things, but I don't hate it at all. Champ saying I lean Basharat, but the line's insane. I agree there. Daz saying I bet Ricky, but I don't think he's washed, man. I don't think he's washed. He's just had some tough competition. Champ saying he still thinks Javid's a better brother. Man, me too. Me too. I don't know why. I was going to make a whole argument, and then I pulled up Fareed's record, and I was like, damn, he did beat my guy Lapis, and he did beat Blackshear, and that's pretty damn impressive. So I don't know. Let's see. Dravi's saying Ricky was injured going into his last fight. Yeah, I mean, he had the knee braces, or I think he had the knee brace on. Maybe he did. He was. Even if he wasn't, like, even if he was 100% healthy in the Vinicius Oliveira fight, Vinny's good. Obviously, he just took out Seaton or Magomedov. Like, the dude is good. So even if Ricky was 100% and he lost that fight, I don't think that means he should be plus 240 against Basharat. Champ saying Simone is technically a home guy here. That's good to know. I didn't realize. 6 Hound saying Ricky finish only is a huge line. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I guess maybe the bookies. What's the line? I don't want to pull it up right now. I guess maybe the bookies think Javid could get like a sub or something. Pepe in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, Pepe. I'm doing pretty well. Hope you're doing well yourself, and good luck as well. Let's see. Over 2.5 might be a parlay piece. I'm assuming he's talking about the Javid fight. Pepe saying Basharat inevitably close 29-28. Yeah, this is a spot where I've been avoiding spreads for a while now. I mean, I told you guys all of last year, my rule after 2023 was no more spreads at chalk because your read could be perfect, but a bad judge will screw you. And because of that, I've been almost staying away even from plus money spots where I thought the spread was good. But the Ricky fight is a spot where that could be something. Let me pull it up. What's the 3.5? Because I know DraftKings doesn't have it up yet. Yeah, no. Ricky plus 3.5 is minus 140, and I just don't do it at chalk because you're going to bet it. You're going to lay minus 140 on it. You're going to be right. Ricky's going to win one round, but one judge is going to be like, nah, 30-27 Basharat, and then you lose your bet for no reason. Ricky season, let's go. Let's see what else we got. Plus 250, Ricky finish only. That makes sense. Dravi saying over should hit at a high clip. Yeah, I tend to agree. Pepe saying Javid reminds him of a female deer. I mean, now that you put that image in me, I could see it. But all right, let's talk about the next fight. We got Nick Klein versus Mansur Abdul-Malik. Nick Klein, 6-1-0, 29 years old, 6'1" with the 77-inch reach. Malik, 7-0, undefeated, 27. He's 2 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm 100% putting a quarter unit on Nick Klein at plus 700. It's a quarter unit. If it loses, it loses. But, like, I just don't think Mansur should be at plus 1,000. He's extremely athletic. He's much more powerful than Nick. He's way more live for a knockout. He's a way better striker. He's just a very explosive, athletic dude, but he's still pretty untested. I'm not sold on his cardio. And really, the reason I'm taking the long shot on Nick Klein is the same reason I took the long shot on Wes Schultz when they fought in the Contender Series. And I didn't look that crazy there. He ended up getting the finish against Wes Schultz. Wes Schultz also wilted, but Wes Schultz got a few takedowns there. He had some control time. There was a couple situations where Mansur was not looking all that great. And I just think that he's very front-loaded. In the first round, he looks like a world beater, 100%. And as his career develops, he's only 7-0. He's only 27. As his career develops, he's going to be an absolute menace. But I'm just not sold that he can fight through a really hard 15. I'm not sold that he should be minus 1,000 if somebody brings the fight to him. And I'm not sold that he can handle a guy who can bring the pace and grapple. And with Nick Klein, he's just a guy who he won't fuck off. He'll be there until you put his lights out, or you just like he'll keep fighting. He'll fight for your money. He's an absolute dog. And he's a solid grappler. His striking sucks. Mansur on the feet can annihilate him. Might annihilate him in even less than a minute. It's possible. Nick's pretty hittable. He's not a great striker. Like, Mansur's 100% the rightful favorite, but Nick Klein's a pretty big physical dude in his own right. Not as athletic, sure, but I could see him really grinding on Malik. I could really see him grinding on him, getting some takedowns later in the fight, even earlier in the fight. I could see him getting takedowns, but as the fight progresses, I could see him having more and more success. So for me, plus 700, I'm totally fine throwing a quarter unit on it. If he gets cooked, he gets cooked. Like, I'm very high on Malik. I think he's a real prospect. I don't think he's a fraud at all. I think he's a real legit prospect in this weight class. But he's minus 1,000, relatively unproven. His only UFC win is knocking out Dusko. To me, that doesn't mean a ton. And against Wes Schultz, he did not look like a world beater to me. It looked like he does have some holes, and he could be beaten. And maybe it's not Nick Klein, but for a quarter unit at plus 700, I'm totally fine finding out that way. So that's what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm waiting because it might go even worse because I don't see anybody on Nick Klein or even talking about laying a penny on him. But I might just play the plus 700 because to me, that's already ridiculous. I just don't think it should be there. Maybe Mansur puts him out in the first round. He very well might. He's definitely my pick to win the fight. Definitely the rightful favorite. But long story short, I think the line's kind of crazy. So I'll take a shot on Nick. And I just like him. He's got that dog in him. You know, he's just going to bring the fight. So I like guys like that. All right, let's see what the chat's saying. Champ saying Klein's being fed to the wolves. He said in an interview that he's planning on surviving and drowning late. I mean, that's kind of what he has to do. And what Champ is saying at the end there, that a Klein live bet, the best way to do it is probably to bet Klein live. The only reason I'm considering doing it beforehand is I don't think I'm going to be able to. I don't think I'm watching the fights on Saturday live, so might not be able to bet them live. So I might just put in my quarter unit. But yes, that's probably the best way to do it. Let the fight start. Let Mansur beat the crap out of him for a round. Either he gets him out of there, or you get an even better line than plus 700, and you can just hop in. But if you don't have the time to live bet, I think a quarter unit is fine pre. Benino saying Nick Klein is not good. I think he's decent. Nick sub. I was looking at it too. There's just no reason to get fancy with it. Like maybe a sprinkle on the round 3, because it's a crazy number, but he's plus 700. You could just throw a quarter unit on the money line. Real Fight Pick saying he's throwing $10 on Nick Klein. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Kiwi. What's up, Kiwi? Thanks for tuning in. I don't know what RFP is, but I'm also stupid sometimes. All right. Next up, we got Andre Fili versus Melquizael Costa. Fili 24-11-0. He's 34. He's 5'11" with a 74-inch reach. Costa 21-7-0. He's 28, so he's 6 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. This is a really difficult fight for me. I think the pick'em is accurate. I think where the line is now is relatively accurate because I lean Costa ever so slightly, just because I think he's the younger guy. He's taken less damage over his career, and I feel like he's a little bit more well-rounded in that he just has more of a jiu-jitsu game, and his striking is a little bit more varied, some knees, elbows. Fili will also mix it up too, but I just think Costa has a little bit more of a varied game on the feet. I think that in terms of the wrestling, I think Fili's a better pure wrestler, but I think both guys can take each other down. I think Costa's a solid wrestler in his own right. Both guys have decent takedown defense. I think Fili will be a little bit harder to take down, but I think that Costa's a little bit more dangerous off of his back. So I'm not really dying to play anything here, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I think it's a close fight. I think the line's pretty accurate. I think that Costa early on, he was like plus 140. I think that's solid, plus 130, whatever. But now that he's the favorite, I don't have a ton of interest. If the line really blows out and then Fili becomes like plus 140, I'd probably play Fili because he's fought the much better level of competition. He does show good offensive wrestling, and I do think he'll get takedowns here. And on the feet, he's probably better with just the hands. And then, like I said, I think Costa just has more tools and weapons on the feet, but I think it's going to be close overall. And Fili maybe packs a little bit more of a punch. Some people I heard were saying like Costa had a close fight with Austin Lingo. I just wanted to bring that up because were we all watching the same fight? I thought he absolutely cooked Lingo from pillar to post. And now to me, that doesn't mean much because I don't really rate Lingo, but I just heard that a few times this week, and that kind of bothered me because it's like, that was not a close fight. Like Costa ran through him, and it was never close. So maybe I just don't know what I'm looking at, but wanted to put that out there. Long story short, I like Costa to win. I don't see much value on the line either way right now, and I'd be fine playing either guy at plus 125 or higher because, like I said, I think Pick'em's about right. Let's see. Glennbot saying Costa decision. Champ saying, I think Fili's striking and footwork will give Costa a lot of problems, but hard to trust Fili. Fair enough. Pepe saying, this is the plant your damn flag fight of the week. I don't want to plant a flag, Pepe. I don't know who to plant it on because it's tricky. To me, it's tricky. I could see either guy winning, so I'm probably going to pass. And I got to start passing because the last few cards, I've been just betting every fight, and I got to stop doing that. All right. Next up, we have Ion Cutelaba versus Ibo Aslan. Cutelaba, 18, 10, and 1. He's 31 years old, 6'1" at the 75-inch reach. Aslan on the other side, 14, 1-0. He's 28, so he's 3 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. I already bet Cutelaba. I took him at plus 155 on Caesars. I'm pretty sure it's still there because I took it an hour ago. So I think it's still available. And I saw plus 147 on Bet Online. If you have Circa, plus 160 is up. Wish I had Circa. We don't have it here in New York yet. But for me, I'm picking him to win outright. And now, I haven't always had the best read with Cutelaba. I back him when I shouldn't, and I paid him when I should not. I bet on Ivan Arslan the last time, and he proved me wrong there. But for this one, it's really like, where is Ibo that much better than Cutelaba? Other than not being just an idiot, because Cutelaba is an idiot. But where's he really that much better? Like, Ibo's a really good, he's a really solid striker. I don't know about really good, but he's a really solid striker. He clearly has a ton of power. Output is solid. But I don't think he's like something crazy. And Cutelaba, I think, is on par with him in the striking. It's close. I think Ibo's a little bit better, but not by much. Both guys have a lot of power. Like, Cutelaba hits really hard too. And the defense is bad on both sides. Cutelaba, I'd argue, might even have a little bit better of defense than Ibo, because Ibo's a punching bag. You watch the fight with Turkali, his eye was like almost shut in the third round. I know he got the finish and he's very tough and showed that his cardio isn't all that terrible, but it's very hittable. That's what I took from that. He's very hittable, definitely takes damage. I think that the cardio still is a bit of a concern because off memory, I was like, oh, he was fine in round 3. He got the finish. And then I watched it and he definitely slowed down, especially in that second round towards the end. He definitely slowed down quite a bit. And yeah, he stuffed the takedowns from Turkali, and it was an improvement because in their first fight, Turkali was able to out-grapple him. But I'm not sold that his grappling is all that good yet. I don't really know what he's going to look up like off of his back, and Cutelaba is a good wrestler. You can't take that from him. He's a good wrestler. He has good control. He's got very good ground and pound. I think his jiu-jitsu is pretty underrated. He's got a nice back take. And on the feet, like I said, it's close. So long story short, I feel like Cutelaba is going to keep it close on the feet. He's going to land big shots too. Both guys will, but Cutelaba is going to grapple. And maybe he slows down and then Ibo can take advantage of it later. But personally, I think Cutelaba is going to win through the grappling. I think a sub is live. And the long shot prop that I kind of like here is the round 1 sub. It's like plus 2,000 right now on Bet Online. I'm going to wait and see what the domestics give me because I can kind of see him just come out there, throw a big overhand, shoot a double, take him down, take the back, and just sub him. So I'm going to sprinkle that. But I did play the money line too because I think he has the wrestling advantage. He clearly has the experience advantage. Both guys questionable cardio. Both guys questionable defense. Ibo slightly a better striker, but not by much. So at plus 155, plus 147, I think Cutelaba is a good bet. So that's what I did. I just put a unit on it. He's a dummy sometimes, most of the times, and he can definitely make a mistake and cost you your money. But I'm not sold on Ibo being a minus 170 against someone like Cutelaba. So I'll take the shot. Before we move on, let's catch up with the chat. Let's see. Tristan saying, Ion better be careful. The first round, other Ibo going to spark him out. I think they can both spark each other, I'll be honest. Champ saying, man, I have the worst feeling in the world that this round is someone going to win another. I don't think he's a fraud. Just don't know him too well yet. Dravi wants to play Ion here, doesn't get the Ibo hype. What happens if Cutelaba gets on? That's my point. I feel like if he gets on top, he's going to kill him. And we don't really have any reason to believe otherwise. So at plus 155, I'm willing to take the risk and find out. Tristan saying Ibo's been training with massive welterweight. He's on Duatov, has a speed advantage. I mean, training with Duatov's really good, but he's really green. So that doesn't mean a ton to me. And I'm more worried about the grappling here, and Duatov doesn't really grapple. but he is at Bang Tao, I'm pretty sure, or Tiger Muay Thai, which is a good camp for takedown defense also, and wrestling overall. So yeah, he's at a good camp for sure. The bigger, that's true. Longer, true. More athletic, I guess that's true. Explosive, I have to disagree with. I think Cutelaba is more explosive. That he's all explosive. Cutelaba is all explosion 24/7. That's all he does. That's all he knows. But yeah, we can move on. I'm gonna pick Cutelaba to win though. All right, is this our first main card fight? Yeah, it is. All right, first fight on the main card. We got Alonzo Menifield versus Julius Walker. Menifield 15-5-1. He's 37. He's 6 feet tall with a 76-inch reach. Walker 6-0 undefeated. He's 25, so he's 12 years younger. I didn't realize it was that much. Menifield's 37. That's nuts. 6'4". He's 4 inches taller. 5-inch reach advantage. So I really want to bet Walker, but I need the line to move more, so my hand is forced because I've taped him twice now for this fight, because the first time I taped it, I was like, I don't like it. And then I saw a lot of people on him. The line jumped up to plus 190. And I was like, let's look at this again, because he's got all the measurables. He's taller, bigger. I almost said stronger. I don't know about all that. But he's taller, he's bigger, he's younger. So I was like, let me check again. And it's just like, I don't even fully know what Walker's good at, personally. Like, I'm not fully sure. He seems like an athletic, tough dude for sure, and like he probably has a pretty high ceiling at light heavyweight, which is a pretty shallow division, and he's only 25 years old, and he's got some decent wins, like some UFC guys, Bevan Lewis, not the best win, but it's a solid win, I guess, for regionals. So I really wanted to like him, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting with him. On the feet, from what I see, he seems okay, but he stands very tall. The chin is up. And I don't see him being super competitive with Alonzo on the feet from what I saw on the tape. Like, some of the camera angles are kind of crap, so it's not like you can take a ton from it. But from what I saw, it does seem like Menifield's going to have a significant striking advantage and probably a power advantage. And then with the grappling, from what I saw, that's where Walker's having the most success. That's also where he's losing. You have to go to his amateur career to see him lose, but Tristan Overeem, and I forget the other guy's name, but they both out-grappled him. That's how they won. So when he's losing, he's getting out-grappled. When he's winning, he's out-grappling them. Not a ton of tape or information on him on the feet. Seems to hit relatively hard, but I can't really tell. And yeah, his wrestling doesn't seem amazing to me either. And while Menifield hasn't always had the best takedown defense, I think his takedown defense is pretty solid, and he's a very athletic, physical dude in his own right. So I feel like he's probably going to keep it on the feet. And on the feet, I favor Menifield a lot. And Menifield could low-key grapple too. And like I said, when Walker has lost, it was because he was getting taken down. And he had that one fight with, what's his name? The Ultimate Fighter guy, Niall Bartling. And Niall was having some grappling success against him too. That was a relatively close fight up until the finish. So for me, I feel like Javid pretty much just took the words out of my mouth. I think Menifield's going to show levels here. It's kind of like, I don't want to group Walker with these people, but it's just kind of what comes to mind. Like when Menifield fought Fabio Charant, or my fellow Ukrainian, the fraud Oscar Mozarov. When he fought them, he just out-grappled them. He just took them down and just beat them up. I think he submitted Charant, and he TKO'd Mozarov, if I remember correctly. But either way, to me, that this could look like that. I think Walker's better than both those guys I just mentioned. Fabio's pretty good, but I think Walker's better than both of those guys. I don't know exactly where he's at. If they keep pushing the line, I'll probably take a small shot, like a half unit. But right now, I think, like Javi's saying, I think it's going to be a levels fight. I could see Menifield knocking him out. I could see Menifield beating up on him on the feet for 15 if Walker can survive. I could see Menifield having wrestling success of his own, you know? I need to see more from Walker before I start playing him. He looks like the goods, just like on paper, but the tape, it didn't really sell me. Glenn Bot saying Alonzo Walker over 1.5 minus 110. I don't know. I need more info from Walker. I don't even know if he can take a big shot. Like, he hasn't really faced a power puncher yet. So I don't know. 6 Ounce saying he doesn't understand the line at all. Hasn't seen any, I'm assuming, ounce of skill from Walker. Yeah, like Walker has a good back take. Seems pretty strong. But like you said, I need to see more of him to really know where we're at. So I'm going to pick Menifield for now. Next up, we got probably the most fun fight on the card. We have Gene Silva versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. Silva 14-2-0, 28 years old, 5'7" with a 69-inch reach. Melsik 8-2-0. He's 33. He's 5 years older. He's 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So I'll start it off with the line's definitely way too wide. It's 100% recency bias plus the Fighting Nerds tax. Everybody loves Fighting Nerds, even though they had terrible game planning for both Mayra Bueno Silva and Bruna Brazil. Terrible for both of them. Everybody loves Fighting Nerds, though, because the guys do really well. And I can 100% recognize that the line's way too wide. This is a striking matchup. Both guys are primarily strikers, and Melsik is a really good striker with a lot of power, and he's very fast in his own right. But at the end of the day, I think Silva's just going to get it done. Yeah, I just think he's going to get it done. I have him in a parlay with... this is like a month ago I placed this, or like 2-3 weeks ago. I placed Silva, Song, and Curtis Blades, and it came out to plus 149. I said, screw it, I'll put a unit on it. Well, Blades is off now, so now it's just Silva and Song. And it's like, whatever, I'll leave it. But yeah, look, I just think Silva's going to get it done. I think he's the better striker. I think while both guys are good strikers, he's just better. While both guys are fast, I think he's faster. While both guys hit hard, I don't know who hits harder, but they both hit really hard. But him coming up in weight on short notice and beating up Drew Dober makes me think maybe he hits a little bit harder. And Melsik does really struggle when you mix in any kind of grappling. And does Silva really grapple? No, but I wouldn't be shocked if he at least tried. Like I said, Fighting Nerds hasn't really had the best game plans recently, but if he mixes that in, it'll be even easier for him, I think. But either way, like I said, it's a wide line, but it's a spot where I don't really have interest in the underdog at all because I just feel like Gene Silva's going to get it done. I don't think this is the spot to fade him. And I tried with Dober. I don't think Melsik's the spot. Melsik is a really good striker in his own right. I get it, but I just think Gene gets it done. Glenbot saying Silva sub for the boys. I was thinking this on my drive home today. I was like, what if Silva subs him? What's that line? And I haven't gotten to look at the line yet. So here's my first reaction. Plus 550. Does he even have a single submission on his record? He has 2. There's a guillotine in 2021 and another guillotine in 2019. So probably not. He's probably not going to sub him, considering Melsik's not going to shoot. So I don't see the guillotine unless he like rocks Melsik and Melsik is like, okay, I need to go for a double now. Then maybe he can get that guillotine. But I feel like I would need better than plus 550 if I'm banking on a guillotine. You know, could Melsik land a spinning kick for a KO? I mean, I think either guy could realistically KO the other. I just think Gene Silva's probably the one who does it. Champ banger, line's insane. Think if Gene wrestles should be easy, but he only strikes and doesn't mix it up, then it's not going to cover. Yeah, I think I'm like back and forth with what it looks like. I'm torn between like either him knocking out Melsik in like the second or third, or just taking the decision. I feel like both are possible, but I do think it goes over the first 7.5 minutes. I haven't even looked at the over. It's 1.5, but it's chalk. Yeah, I wouldn't play that because they both do hit really hard. And Pepe pointing out the 2 guillotines. Yeah, I don't really think that's going to happen here. All right, before we move on, let's see where we're at with the likes. 21. We got 136 live viewers. It's not good. It's not good. Let's do better, guys. Come on, start liking the video. Show your appreciation for the show, for the Couch Warrior. And we got this is not the co-main, but we got our third to last fight. Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto. Font 21-8-0, 37. He's 5'8" with the 71.5-inch reach. Matsumoto 16-0, undefeated. He's 25, so he's 12 years younger. He's 2 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So Matsumoto coming in on short notice. Not really certain how that's going to work out for him. He seems to have good cardio, so I'm not super worried about that. But I am pretty surprised that he's the favorite, just because like narrative-wise, you would think Rob Font just pulled a huge upset against a young up-and-coming guy in Kyler Phillips, who personally, I think Kyler is better than Gene outside of his cardio and bad decision making. I think Kyler is better than Gene. I still maintain he's one of the best bantamweights in the UFC. But regardless, it's just kind of crazy for me to see that line because Font pulled up, did what some may call a fraud check. I don't think it was, but some may call it. And now he's still the underdog against Matsumoto, making his UFC making a short notice appearance. And he's 16-0, and the undefeated guys haven't been doing too well this year. There's been a few guys that pulled it off, but everybody else is losing their O's. And then I'm taping it, and I do have to tape this one a bit more. I did tape it, but not as much as I would have liked, not enough to really feel confident yet. But from what I see, I don't really see why Font should be such a big underdog. He doesn't take shots all that well, but who's Matsumoto really knocking out? I think he has 2 or 3 knockouts on his record. They're all way lower level competition. He's got a few submissions, a few opportunistic subs, but he's not really much of a wrestler. Rob Font, I know he doesn't have the best takedown defense, but the guys out grappling him are all good grapplers, all good wrestlers. And I just don't really see Matsumoto coming out here and just doubling him and taking him down and controlling him. And if he does, that's not something he usually does. Is that going to tire him out considering he's on short notice? Assuming he didn't just have a camp based on wrestling. So that might tire him out. And then on the feet, yeah, he's got really good leg kicks. Maybe he can, target the legs of Font, really hurt him early, and then that'll do good for him. But I feel like Matsumoto is pretty hittable. I feel like he's pretty hittable. The Casey Tanner fight for me isn't a super good look, and it's not because Tanner's bad. I actually think Tanner's very good. I think he's a very good fighter, and I think he'll be in the UFC soon. But he's not a striker. He's a wrestler. And I think I heard something about Casey being injured there, and that's why his wrestling wasn't really all that fight. I don't know. But regardless, him having a pretty close striking match where Casey landed almost, I think, 100 significant strikes on him, to me, that's not super bullish, as my friend Dogfather would say, against Font, who's by far the best boxer Matsumoto's ever fought, best striker, definitely the highest level competition. I mean, Brad Katona was a big step up from where Matsumoto was at, but Brad Katona, I like the guy. He's a good fighter, but first of all, he's very small. He's Matsumoto size, relatively small, doesn't really use his range or his reach. And he's another guy who's, pretty hittable. And it was a relatively close fight. Matsumoto was able to get the decision, but there were a few moments where Katona was landing nice shots too. And Rob Font's jab is crazy. His striking is still elite. I was watching the Kyler Phillips fight, and I was just like, damn, he's still got it. He's 37 years old, but he still has it, The chin, yeah, like I said, a concern. But to me, Gene doesn't seem like the biggest power puncher in the world. So I'm not super worried about that. So I'm kind of leaning towards Rob because I just don't see Gene having prolonged wrestling success over 15 minutes without gassing. And on the feet, I just don't see where he's so much better than Font, if anywhere. So outside of youth and just being like fresher and taking way less damage, which is important in MMA for sure, I don't really see how you get to making him, what is he, minus 160? Minus 176? Like, I don't really know how you get there. Minus 180. I need to tape it a little bit more because I am a little bit worried about Font's durability and everything. Champ over here bringing it up. Like, I'm a little worried about the durability. Oh, I think he was actually saying the opposite. He's saying that Font is durable. He has good recovery, but he does get hurt a lot. And that's like my main concern because other than that, Font's the one who was preparing for a fight. He was supposed to fight Dominic Cruz. And if I'm not mistaken, that was supposed to be 5 rounds too. I could be wrong there, but I thought it was gonna be 5. Regardless, he was the one who was preparing for the fight. And even if they were both on a full camp, like Rob, in my opinion, is the better striker. Think he's faster, definitely better at range. And I just don't see grappling upside from Matsumoto, really. So I don't know how you get to this line. I think it's definitely dog or pass. And I'm going to pick Rob Font to win. I need to tape it more. Like I said, this is the one spot I haven't gotten to tape as much as I would like to. So I need to look at it more. But right now, it's definitely dog or pass. And I might get to a Rob Font play. All right. Moving on to our co-main event. Oh, real quick, let me catch up with the chat. Going about saying Font decision or Gene sub. You can bet that, you know that? I think Bet Rivers doesn't. They do, they call it alternate double chance. You can bet Font by decision or Gene by sub. I wonder what that line will look like, actually. Champ saying fight of the night for him. He's talking about the Rob Font fight. Might be too big of a step up for Gene on short notice, but he thinks he might be the good, so scary to fade him. Yeah, I'm with you there pretty much completely. Pepe saying this fight's going to split. I wonder what the odds look like for that. And Champ saying he thinks. Thank you, Champ, because that's actually something I did want to talk about. I feel like the under doesn't make much sense here at all. Honestly, what is it? It's plus 300, plus 275, plus 300. Like, if you're betting Gene, I have to think that you're thinking he has finishing upside, because how else does he cover on short notice over 15 minutes against Rob Font if he doesn't finish? And then there are durability concerns with Font, but at the same time, we've seen Gene hurt. And Font, when he's taken a step down in competition, Adrian Yanez fight, for example, he's able to get those finishes, and he does hit pretty hard, even just the jab. It does seem like it has some impact. So I'm pretty tempted on maybe taking a small shot on those unders or fight ends ITD also. That does seem a little bit crazy to me. But all right, let's move on. Co-main event, we've got Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez 2. This is a rematch for anybody who doesn't know. It was in LFA, and it was a 5-rounder, I'm pretty sure. Allen 24, 6-0. He's 29. He's 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. On the other side, Hernandez 13, 2-0. He's 31. He's 2 years older, 2 inches shorter, but he's gonna have the same reach. I laid the chalk on Fluffy. I played minus 260, and I just played it straight. I didn't even bother parlaying him. I didn't want to risk it. I just think he's gonna get it done. And I'm high on Allen. I always was. I was a Brendan Allen truther. I've bet on him many, many, many times, and I only think I bet against him like a couple. I've always backed him. I still think he's a really high-level guy, but I just think Fluffy's like it. I think he's next up in the middleweight division in terms of like having a chance for the belt. And to me, he just has like the ultimate. He's what you want in a fighter right now in 2025. Like, in my opinion, your best case, like if I can make like a perfect fighter, they look like Merab or Bilal, in my opinion. And I know people will laugh at that because they hate both of them, but I think they look like a Bilal or a Merab. Guys who aren't the most athletically gifted, aren't the best strikers in the world, but their cardio and their pace and their pressure and their work ethic and their drive is just so ridiculous that there's just nobody stopping them. They can break people. Their cardio is ridiculous. Their takedowns, their wrestling is good, and they can just keep it going and going and going. If they can't hold you down, they'll just take you down again. And yeah, Hernandez is what, like a purple belt or whatever in jiu-jitsu, but his submission grappling is good. And because he's able to really tire people out, he's able to sub them. And yeah, Allen's a higher level grappler, probably on paper, at least in the jiu-jitsu department. But I think Hernandez I don't think anybody subs anybody, but I lean towards Hernandez being more live for a sub than Allen. I think that Hernandez is more live for a finish than Allen, even though I don't think there's a finish. And I just think that Hernandez is just going to get it done. I think he's just going to be too much for Allen. On the feet, Allen's a cleaner striker. Hernandez is a little bit meat and potatoes, but not necessarily in a bad way. It's enough where he can set up the takedowns. And very similar to Merab, I talk about it all the time. Because of the wrestling threat, he has more success on the feet. He might not be the best striker. He's far from it. But because there's such a threat of his wrestling, he can strike because people have to second guess. They can't keep their hands up here because then if you shoot, they have to be there for the underhooks or for the hand control. So they can't. They have to keep it relatively somewhere in the middle or low, and then he can go upstairs. And that's why Merab has so much striking success against guys who he has no business striking with. Love Merab. He should not outstrike Peter Yan, but he can because he can threaten 40 takedowns. Who else can do that? Somebody like Fluffy. So I just think that Fluffy's going to be able to take down Brendan Allen. I think on the feet, Allen's cleaner, but I think because of the striking threat, Hernandez will have more success. That like his pace much more, like his cardio much more. If it was 5 rounds, I'd be even more confident. But I just think Hernandez gets it done. I didn't want to parlay it or anything. Just laid the minus 260 to win 1 unit. And I told myself if it drops significantly, I'll add. And that's where I'm at. All right. Let's see what we got in the chat, and then we'll move on to the main event. Glenbot saying Allen by decision. Okay. Hey, sometimes an island is the best place to be. I'm not with you on that island, but sometimes that's the best place to be. If they stand for prolonged periods, you'll be sweating like crazy. I just really don't think they will. I just really don't. I don't see a reason to think they will. Even here's the thing. Depends what you're talking about. Like if you're saying like just standing, like Fluffy's not shooting for some reason, then okay, yeah. But if they're standing because Fluffy's shooting, but he can't get the takedowns, I'm still not worried. Because to me, like I said, it's like a Merab situation. They don't need to necessarily get the takedowns. It's that threat of being there that then they can strike. If all he's got to do is just feint it and then come upstairs, then I'm not going to be sweating that much. No. Champ saying before he looked into it, he liked Fluffy a lot, never bet against him, but it's tough. Allen's improved a lot and added more to his tool set. I think they've both improved a lot since the first time they fought. Javid thinks Fluffy's going to rinse him. I hope you're right. Pepe thinks Allen sucks. I can't agree with that, really. I think Allen's a good fighter, but I think Fluffy gets it done here. Why don't people just knee them then if they're threatening takedown so much? Well, knees and uppercuts are your best bet, but it's a lot easier said than done against someone like that. And Champ's saying 5 rounds easy, but 3 rounds makes it tougher. Yeah, for sure. But I also think that if it was 5 rounds, the line would probably be wider. All right, before we move on to the main event, we got 145 people watching, 115 on Twitter, 30 on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, please. If you're on YouTube, it helps a lot. And if you're on Twitter, come on. Because I already know you guys. There's 100 people watching. Not a single one of them is going to like it. I'm going to pull up Twitter after this. There's going to be like 3 likes and 1 retweet. And that retweet's probably going to be my guy, Tyler, 138 MMA. Make sure you're checking him out because he's usually the only person retweeting me. So make sure you guys are checking it out. Pepe saying I moved the line. It would be that would be a first. Or which one? Fluffy? Because it's minus 280 now. I don't think it was me. But all right. Moving on to our main event. For the main event, we've got Henry Cejudo versus Song Yadong. Cejudo 16-4-0. He's 38. He's 5'4" with a 67.5-inch reach. Song 21-8-1. He's 27, so he's 11 years younger. He's 4 inches taller, and he's going to have about the same reach. So, like I said earlier, I do have Song in a parlay now with just Gene Silva. It was supposed to be Gene Silva and Curtis Blades. Now it's just Gene Silva. And, like, I'm not super crazy about it now. I'm starting to second guess myself a little bit, some buyer's remorse, because I know Henry's old. I know Henry's inactive, but it's like he looked solid against Merab in the first round. Then he got tired a little bit, but Merab will do that to everybody. And then he lost to Sterling in a fight that honestly I thought he won. And that was coming off of a 3-year layoff, a title fight. And the fact that it was even close is pretty damn impressive. So starting to second guess it a little bit, and Song can be taken down. You know, I think his takedown defense is pretty damn good. It's gotten really good, but I still think he can be taken down. And Henry Cejudo, I don't see any issues with him in the cardio department. I don't really see any issues with Song in the cardio department either, but I'm a little worried that Henry's going to come out there and just out grapple him. That's my main concern here. On the feet, like, yeah, it's Song all day. Henry is an elite striker. He's developed that portion of his game back when he was, you know, champ and double champ. He's a long shot from just a wrestler. He can certainly strike really well, but I do think that Song's a better striker, and I think he has a lot more power at the weight class, and right now especially, I think he's got a ton more power than Cejudo. I think he's going to win most of the moments on the feet. Minutes will be close, but I think Song Yadong, he throws more on the feet standing too. And then I'm just really worried about the grappling. That's my main concern. Is I do think Cejudo's going to have some grappling success, and I feel like 5 rounds, I don't know if it necessarily favors him, but he has a lot more experience there. And he's the guy who I know can go a hard 5. And Song, has he even completed a full 5? Because he had the Corey Sandhagen 5 rounds. He lost that one. Got finished in, what was it, the 4th round? And then he had the 5-rounder against Ricky, and he finished him. I'm pretty sure he's never gone a full 5. So because of that, I'm having some buyer's remorse. It's not like I'm going to hedge off or anything like that, but if you're watching this now and you're like, should I parlay Song? I don't think you should. I regret doing it. That's where I'm at. I still lean Song just because he's younger, fresher, more active, hits harder, better striker. But I'm not super sold that that Henry can't just out grapple him, because Song hasn't really faced a wrestler of Henry's level yet. So, and a guy with 5-round experience to the extent that Henry has. Henry's small. That's another thing that I favor Song with. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be a lot more physical. but I'm just a little bit worried about the grappling. I hope that Song comes out here and like Pepe says, just beats his ass. That would be really nice. But I'm a little worried that Henry might just grapple him. I kind of like the fight goes, honestly. I know it's chalky and it's a 5-rounder, but I kind of like the fight goes. It's what, minus 150? Oh, no, never mind. It was minus 150 when I drove over here and got home. Now it's minus 180. And the over 4.5 is minus 200. So there that goes. I don't have much interest there anymore. Oh, and Pepe saying the Gutierrez fight was 5 rounds. I forgot about that one. But yeah, I mean, now that the fight goes is chalked up to hell, I don't even have interest in that anymore because I guess there's a world where Song can hurt Henry, 38 years old at this point, taking decent amount of damage, but I do still think it probably goes over. Like, Song by decision, don't hate that. I feel like if you're betting Henry, you probably bet Henry by decision, plus 300, plus 350. But then at the same time, money lines plus 225. You could just do that. That's a good point. But it's like also who against who, Like he took down Merab. Good luck controlling Merab. He took down Sterling. Not an easy guy to control either. I'd have to go way back in his record to really see. But I feel like it's because he's fighting really high-level competition, That's why maybe he's not showing super good control. All right. And then Tristan asking me, what's my most confident pick that's under minus 300? Fluffy at minus 260, honestly. And then if that doesn't count for some reason, is it crazy to say McConico? I don't know. I'm not super confident on any of the favorites, really. Yeah. I'd say Fluffy if we're just going under minus 300. And Veretennikov now down to minus 170 again. Vanderford might end up being a play. But all right, guys, that's it. That's UFC Seattle. It fell apart, but honestly, I kind of like these like makeshift last-second fights. I feel like they're going to be fun. I feel like they're bringing in some solid guys. I think Austin Vanderford, that's a cool signing. I'm cool with them bringing him in. Would like if they brought in Nemkov and Mix, but I think that's going to happen too. And how could I forget Aaron Pico? That's the guy I really want them to sign. But all right, I'll run through my picks real quick one more time. Run through my bets and then we'll get out of here. So first fight, I'm going with Modestas. Second fight, going with I guess I'll pick Ruziboev, but it's definitely dog or pass, and I did play the dog. Here we're going Veretennikov, but dog or pass. Javid, but dog or pass, and I did play Simone. Dog or pass, and I will play Klein because I'm crazy and I like it. This one is zero confidence. I'll lean Costa. Cutelaba, Menifield, I guess. Silva, Font, but I need to tape it some more. Hernandez and Song. Those are my picks. And in the bets I do have, I have Anthony Hernandez minus 260 to win 1 unit. I've got Cutelaba plus 155, 1 unit. Ricky Simone plus 240, a half a unit. Eric McConico plus 270, 1 unit. And then I've got 1 unit on that parlay with Song and Silva. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, retweet, comment, anything will help. Thank you guys. Peace out. Good luck this weekend.